A very good morning to students. Students, let's discuss about the soil water, which is again a part of irrigation, which is required to be understood by the students learning irrigation engineering. Okay, so what is this soil water? Soil water is nothing but the water, the water that is added to the soil during irrigation and which is held in the pores of soil mass. What does that mean? That means whatever the water we add in the soil for the irrigation purpose and which get retained in the soil pores is called as a soil water. Suppose I have added a water in the soil for irrigation purpose. That water will stay in the pores of a soil mass. Okay, so that water is called as a soil water. I hope it is a very general term and it is understood by all of you. So let's move ahead and see for its classification. There are three sort of soil waters available. You can see the names. Very first is a gravitational water, second a capillary water, and the third one is a hygroscopic water. Now let's see one by one what does each term says or what does each term means. Let's start with a gravitational water. What is this gravitational water? See what happens when we add the water from the surface of the soil mass, from the top surface of the soil mass, it gets infiltrated in the soil. It gets infiltrated in the soil, and with the help of gravity, it gets accumulated at some level. As you can see here, it gets accumulated at some level till which the water gets infiltrating with the help of a gravity. Okay, so these water will not stay available for the plant growth. Okay, this is called as an unavailable water. Okay, which gets infiltrated into the soil with the help of the gravitational force. What does that mean? This water will not stay available because the water will not stay present in this zone. Water will not stay present in this zone. Water will only going to travel from this zone. The water will only going to travel with this zone. This water which is traveling from this zone is known as the gravitational water. I hope it is clear to you. And this water is also called as an unavailable water for the plant growth, which gets travel with the help of our gravitational force to the to this accumulating level. Okay, so that is called as a gravitational water, which does not stay in this zone but travels from this zone and gets accumulated at some level. Okay, now let's see for the next soil water that is called as a capillary water, which is just below this gravitational water zone. As you can see, there are three zones of a soil available over here. Very first is the gravitational zone from which the water gets travel and gets accumulated in the second zone, which is called as a capillary zone. Now, let's see what is this capillary zone is. Capillary zone starts from this point, ends at this point, where you can see there is a water getting accumulating. Okay, so here you can see that the traveled water is start getting accumulated. Okay, it is getting accumulated from the bottom of its zone and will get accumulated up to its top and will get accumulated up to its top from this till this capacity point till this field capacity point. I hope students it is clear to you. Okay, so if suppose the water got accumulated in the capillary zone up to this level, okay, so you will find the water whichever has got collected in this level will also going to be available to its upper level also with the help of capillary. You can see there is a capillary action which is making the water available to the upper soil as well, to the soil in the upper level as well. Okay, so this is called as the capillary water, where the water will get accumulated as well and will also going to provide to its upper zone with the help of capillary action. This is called as a capillary water zone. Okay, I hope it is clear to all of you students. Next, the third soil water is called as the hygroscopic water. Now, what is this hygroscopic water? In this zone, you will find that there are rocks available in which the water is getting uh, or water is not getting accumulated into. So this is a rock zone where again you will not find the water available for the plant growth. Okay. Above this, there is a soil zone where the water will get accumulated. Okay. Where the water will get accumulated and will stay available for the plant growth. But below this capillary zone, in the hygroscopic zone, there will be rocks available which will not allow the water to stay there, and ultimately the water will not be available there in this zone. Okay, so this is also called as an unavailable zone for the plant growth. I hope students it's clear to all of you. As you can see in this picture, there are so many things also available at the right hand side. Okay, which is indicating the level of this zone. As you can see at the topmost point, there is written SC, which is called as a saturation capacity. Below which, at the top of the capillary water zone, there is written FC, which is called as a field capacity. Okay, field capacity. And the third zone is starting at the permanent wilting point. Okay, permanent wilting point. Okay, or you can also say called it as wilting coefficient. Okay, let's see what does this terms indicate. Let's start with this SC. SC is called as a saturation capacity. Saturation capacity. What is this saturation capacity? It is defined as the total water content. It is defined as the total water content of the soil. Total water content of the soil when all the voids of the soil are filled up with water. What does that mean? Total water content of the soil when all the voids of the soil are filled up with water. It is the saturation capacity. What will happen when you are going to fill the water into the soil? It will get start accumulating over here, and if you are continuously pouring the water into the soil, you will find the capillary zone has completely filled up with water. Again, if you have continued the pouring of a water into the soil, you will find the gravitational zone is also getting accumulated with water. Okay, when you will find the complete capillary zone as well as the gravitational zone has got accumulated with water. What does that mean? All the voids in the soil in the capillary zone as well as in the gravitational zone has got completely filled up with water. So that is what the saturation capacity is saying. The total water content of a soil when all the voids of a soil are filled up with water. When all the voids of a soil is starting from here. When all the voids of a soil are filled up with water, that level is called as a saturation capacity. I hope students this is clear to all of you. Now let's move on to the next level, that is a field capacity level, which is right at the top marking of a uh, capillary water. Okay, what does it say? It is defined as the maximum water which can be held by the soil against gravity immediately after the gravitational water has drained off from a saturation from the saturated soil. What does that mean? Immediately after the gravitational zone, in the capillary zone, the amount of water filled in this zone till the top is called as the field capacity. when all the water from the gravitational zone has been transferred in the capillary zone. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू। जब पूरा पानी हमने जो ऊपर से डाला है वो पूरा ड्रेन हो गया है अंदर कैपिलरी जोन में और कैपिलरी जोन पूरा भर चुका है, दैट लेवल इज कॉल्ड एज अ फील्ड कैपेसिटी लेवल। ओके, नाउ लेट्स कम टू द थर्ड लेवल, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द टेम्पररी विल्टिंग पॉइंट और ऑप्टिमम मॉइस्चर कंटेंट। ऑप्टिमम मॉइस्चर कंटेंट, this level, temporary wilting point, the water content below which the soil water content is not allowed. The water content below which the soil water content is not allowed to fall for maintaining the better growth rate of a crop, that is called as a temporary wilting point. See, what is it? What does it say? You are not supposed to add the water till the top of the soil because of the issues which the crop faces, such as the waterlogging issues, because of which the crop root is unavailable to breathe and take the oxygen from the soil. Okay, so because of which you are not allowed to fill the water in the entire capillary zone. You are just allowed to fill the water till the field capacity zone. Okay, and when you have filled the water in the field capacity zone, you will find the crop which has been seeded here will be available with water as well and with the oxygen as well. Okay, so actually the phenomena is you will have to fill the water till the top of the field capacity. Then, with the amount of time, with the duration, you will find the water level is getting reduced from the field capacity to the bottom levels, such as temporary wilting points and permanent wilting points. But what does it say? What does the phenomena say? You are only allowed to uh, reduce. You are only allowed to like maintain the water level between the field capacity and the temporary wilting point in order to have a better growth rate of a crop. In order to have a better growth rate of a crop, because within this range, the crop is like easily the crop has ease to extract the water from the soil. The crop which is available here, you will find it is like easy for the crop to extract the water from this range. Okay, but if you will make the water level to fall up to permanent wilting point, then it will be very difficult for the crop to extract the water from such below level. Okay, so you are not allowed, as per the phenomena, you are not allowed to uh, let the water level falling below the temporary wilting point. Okay, for what reason? For the better growth rate of the crop, for maintaining the better growth rate of a crop. Okay, so that is what the temporary wilting point means. Temporary wilting point is the point up to which the water level is allowed to fall. Temporary wilting point is the level up to which the water level is allowed to fall and below which the water level is not allowed to fall. For what reason? For maintaining the better growth rate of a crop. Okay. So now let's move on to the next level, that is a permanent wilting point. The name itself says there will be a wilting and a permanent wilting of a crop if the water level will fall below this level. Let's see what does it say. It is the water content or the water level below which the crop will not be able to extract the water and therefore will wilt permanently. I hope it is clear to all of you students. What does it say? It is the level below which the water level is not allowed to fall, because if the water level will fall below this, then the crop will not be able to extract the water and therefore it will permanently wilt. Okay, so you are not allowed to let the water level to fall below permanent wilting point, because it will be like impossible for the crop to extract the water from such level. Okay, If the water level is between temporary wilting point and permanent wilting point, then also it is very difficult for the crop to extract the water. Okay, but the crop somehow managed to like extract the water from this level, but it is like with very difficulties. Okay, so you are not allowed to give a difficulties to the crop for extracting the water from such levels. Therefore, the water level is usually maintained between the field capacity and the temporary wilting point for maintaining the better growth rate of a crop. Okay, so the water level which is available within this range, within which range? The field capacity and the temporary wilting point range. Within this range, the water which is available is called as RAMC. That means readily available moisture content, and the formula will be the formula of it will be field capacity minus temporary wilting point. I hope it is clear to all of you. The water which is available between the field capacity and the permanent wilting point is also an available moisture content or the available water content for the crop. Okay, the formula for which will be FC minus PWP. I hope students this is clear to all of you. Let's move to the next point or the next thing. There is a certain definition given for this particular term. Let's discuss over it and then move ahead. Readily available moisture content, or you can call it as RAMC. It is the water content which can be easily extracted by the crop. Obviously, it is the water content which is easily extracted by the crop. Formula has already been discussed, Fc minus TWP. Okay, or you can call it as Fc minus OMC. As temporary wilting point can also be called as OMC. Temporary wilting point can also be called as OMC or optimum moisture content. Okay. Next, available moisture content. What is this available moisture content? The total water content available for the crop. Correct. Fc minus PWP, or you can call it as Fc minus WC. Hope it is clear to all of you students. Let's move to the next heading, that is the depth of a water. Depth of a water. Water content available in the soil. Water content available in the soil. Now let's start our discussion over the depth of water. We just need to derive the equation for the depth of water. So let's start with the water content. Water content of a soil. Water content of a soil, also called as the moisture content in the soil. Uh, as you can see, there is a definition over here. The water content, also called as the moisture content, is defined as the ratio of weight of water to the weight of solid. Weight of water to the weight of solid. Okay, that is what written over here. Weight of water upon weight of solid or weight of soil. Now, weight, the formula is also known to you for the weight of soil as weight of soil can be derived from the density. Okay, uh, density of water is weight of water upon volume of water. Density is weight by volume. Okay, so that is what we are doing. We are applying the formula of density and finding out the formula for weight of water. Density is equal to weight by volume. So what will be the formula for weight? That will be density multiplied by volume. So weight of water, that is WW. The formula for which will be density into volume, gamma W into VW. Same will be for solid, gamma S into VS. Okay. Now let's keep gamma W and gamma S as it is. Okay. Now split this volume term into area into depth. Area into depth. Now, volume of water. For the volume of water, the formula will be area of soil into depth of water. As the water will be available in the soil only, so that will be the area of soil. That will be the area of soil. But there will be a depth of water. Okay, as we are formulating for volume of water, so there will be a depth of water. Okay. Now let's come to the volume of soil. There will be area of soil and depth of soil. Okay. Here you can see the area of soil is getting cancelled. The equation for depth of water will be the equation for depth of water. For depth of water, this term will be depth of water equals to gamma s at the upper portion, d at the upper portion at the numerator, okay, and below which there will be gamma w, okay, and water content will stay here only multiplied in multiplication. So that's the formula for depth of water. That's the formula for depth of water. Gamma s into d upon gamma w into water content. That will be the formula for depth of water. Gamma s into d upon gamma w into water content. Depth of water corresponding to Fc. At Fc, if you want the depth of water, then the water content at this position of water content, you will have to add Fc, the water content corresponding to Fc. Okay, so depth of water will be gamma s into d upon gamma w into at the place of water content you will have Fc, because the water content is up to Fc. The water is filled up to Fc. So the water content at place of water content you will have Fc. Next, depth of water corresponding to RAMC. Depth of water corresponding to RAMC. So what you will write over here, gamma s into d upon gamma w into RAMC. Here you will write at place of water content as RAMC, and then you are applying the formula of RAMC. What is the formula for RAMC? Fc minus TWP, yeah, Fc minus OMC. That is what you are writing over here, Fc minus OMC. That is all about the depth of water. I hope it is also clear to you. When there is a water content corresponding to Fc, you will directly have to write Fc. When there is a water level corresponding to RAMC, you will have to write Fc minus TWP. Okay, that's it. Let's come to the next thing, that is frequency of irrigation. Frequency of irrigation. What does that mean? That means after how many days you are providing the water for irrigation. That is what it says. The number of days after which the water is required to be applied to the crop. Number of days after which the water is required to be applied to the crop. Suppose if you are applying the water today and then uh, not tomorrow but day after tomorrow, and then again after an alternate days, and then after an alternate days, so the frequency of irrigation in a month will be 15 days in a month. So that is what the frequency is all about. Next, consumptive use. This has already been discussed with you all students. Consumptive use. Consumptive use means the water, uh, the water required from the crop for transpiration purpose and evaporation purpose is known as the consumptive use. Are you getting my point? Amount of water that is getting evaporated from the crop means whatever the water was available for the crop, the amount of which is getting transpirated means that is getting extracted by the crop but getting evaporated from the plant leaves. Okay, that is called as the transpiration, and evaporation means getting evaporated from the soil itself. Okay, so whatever the amount we have added for irrigation, the amount of which is getting transpirated and evaporated is called as the consumptive use, which was unavailable for the plant for its growth, which was available but got unavailable due to the reasons such as transpiration and evaporation. So that is called as a consumptive use. I hope it is clear to all of you. Let's read it for once. Water required by a crop in a day. In a day. For what reason? For transpiration and evaporation. For transpiration and evaporation. So whatever the amount will get evaporated, that will be from the depth of a water level, right? So that will be found in a centimeter or mm. But since it will be not that much to be counted in centimeters, so we'll be considering it, or we'll be counting it in mm. And since it is getting evaporated in a day, so the unit will be mm per day. Okay, mm per day. From where it will be evaporating? From the top level of the soil. From where it be evaporating? From the top level of the soil. That means from the top level of the water. What does that mean? From this zone. In this zone, the depth of water is DRAMC. DRAMC. Depth of water in RAMC. I hope it is clear to all of you, students. The water available in the top zone is depth of water in RAMC. Okay. I hope it is clear to all of you. There is a formula written for frequency of watering. Frequency of watering will be in days, since I have already told you that with the example of a month, in a month, if I am applying the water in alternate days, so in a month, the frequency of watering will be 15 days. So you have known with the unit of frequency, that is days. So for the frequency of irrigation, for the frequency of watering, or for the frequency of irrigation, the formula will be the amount of water, the amount of water out of which the amount of water which is getting evaporated and transpirated in a day. The total amount of water जो मैंने सॉइल में डाला हूँ, हम कहाँ तक का पानी रखते हैं मेंटेन? आरएएमसी तक, उसके बाद वापस से रिफिल कर देते हैं, तो हम इतना ही पानी कंसिडर कर रहे हैं। डेप्थ ऑफ वाटर विल बी आरएएमसी। अगर इससे नीचे गिरेगा तो मैं वापस से इरिगेशन कर दूंगा, यानी कि वो मेरा फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ इरिगेशन आ जाएगा। करेक्ट है? तो डेप्थ ऑफ आरएएमसी डिवाइडेड बाय कितना पानी यूज हो रहा है इन अ डे, दैट इज कंजम्पटिव यूज। पानी किसके लिए यूज होगा? इवेपोरेशन भी होना ही है, ट्रांसपिरेशन भी होना ही है, तो यही पानी यूज होना है। तो टोटल डेप्थ में से पर डे कितना पानी जा रहा है, तो फ्रीक्वेंसी मिल जाएगी mm अपॉन mm पर डे। mm कट गया, डे ऊपर आ गया, दैट विल बी द फ्रीक्वेंसी। आई होप स्टूडेंट्स क्लियर हो गया आपको ये। आगे बढ़ सकते हैं हम। लेट्स डिस्कस सम general definitions of certain terms. Very first is the core watering. Very first is the core watering. What does it say? The first watering after the crop have grown a few centimeters, for say 3 centimeter high, is known as core watering. If your crop has been seeded and has grown around 3 centimeter, and then if you have applied the water for the first time, after the crop has grown 3 centimeter, after that, when you have applied the water for the first time, that is called as the first watering of a crop after 3 centimeter height, that is called as the core watering. I hope it is clear to all of you. At that time, how much depth of water you have applied is called as the core depth. Are you getting me? At that time, when the crop has already been grown 3 centimeter high, and you have firstly watering the water after that, that is called as core watering. And the depth of water you are applying to the crop after 3 centimeter height, that is called as the core depth. I hope it is clear to all of you. Third thing, the amount of time, the duration of time that has been taken by the crop for getting grown up to 3 centimeters is called as a core period. I will repeat it again. The duration of time that has been taken by the crop for growing up to 3 centimeters, right from seeding to growing up to 3 centimeters, that period of time is called as a core period. I hope students this has been cleared in your head. Let's move to the next term, that is a capacity factor. Now, what is this capacity factor? See, if a canal, all of you must be knowing what is canal. A canal is a structure constructed for the irrigation purpose for transporting the water from dam to the agricultural field, to the area of agricultural field. I hope it is clear to all of you. So a canal must be designed by an engineer for its maximum discharge. There must be a certain height of it, a certain capacity of it, a certain width, a depth, everything. It will be having a certain fixed dimension because of which it will be having a certain fixed capacity that is called as the maximum capacity. Okay, beyond which it will not be able to hold the water. Okay, the water will get overflow from the canal. Canal is nothing but a channel or something called as a nala. Okay, that has been created by an engineer with its certain dimension having its fixed capacity beyond which you cannot let the water transport from it as it will get overflowed from the channel. Okay, so what is this canal? Canal is a structure constructed by an engineer for transporting the water, irrigation water, right from the dam near to the agricultural field. And from the nearest point of the agricultural field, you will find the canal is having a certain outlet from its side, from where you are going to attach your certain PVC pipelines which will transport the water from the uh, nearby uh, destination of the canal to your agricultural field. Okay, so all of you must have been now aware of what is canal. Okay, so canal is having its maximum discharge capacity. You must be knowing this now that canal is having its maximum discharge capacity. But do you think the canal always runs with its maximum discharge capacity? I think no, because canal will run with the water, with that amount of water, or nearly to that amount of water which is required by the agricultural field, right? So it will be having some main supply discharge in it all the time. Sometimes, if it is having a capacity of uh, say 30 cubic or 10 cubic in certain dimension of it, in certain cross section of it. But you cannot take 10 cubic of water all the time in that particular cross section because you will only going to supply the water from the canal, only that amount of water which is required to the agricultural field. Okay, so say if today the water requirement is 4 cubic per cross section, tomorrow it is the requirement of 3 cubic per cross section. Then again it is 3, 3.5. Then again it is 4, 4.5. Okay. So this is called as a mean supply discharge, which is required to the agricultural fields, and that only that amount of water gets transported from the canal, not its full capacity. Okay. So the canal usually runs with its mean supply capacity. Okay. So that is what capacity factor says. It is the ratio of the mean supply discharge, the mean supply discharge for a certain duration, say for 1 month, say for 2 months, say for a rainy season, say for a summer season. So for a certain duration, it is the ratio of the mean supply discharge for certain duration to its maximum discharge. So the formula will be the capacity factor equals to mean supply discharge for certain duration upon maximum discharge. I hope it is clear to all of you students what is capacity factor. Let's come to the next thing. This has been discussed and been understood by students. Now let's come to the next thing, that is a time factor. Now what is this time factor? The ratio of total number of days the canal has actually run during the watering period to the total number of days of watering period. I hope it is clear to all of you. Number of days the canal is actually running. to the total number of days, the uh, to the total number of days of watering period. Say the watering period was 1 month, but the canal is actually run for 25 days. Okay, so the ratio will be 25 upon 30. That is called as a time factor. I hope students this is clear to all of you. Let me repeat it for once. The ratio of total number of days canal is actually run during the watering period, during the required period, to the total number of watering period, to the total number of watering period is known as a time factor. So if the total number of watering period was 30 and you have only run the canal for 25 days, so the ratio of this is called as a time factor. I hope students this is clear to all of you. Let's come to the next thing, that is commanded area. You will have to understand and keep this all terms in your mind. Perfect. Since these are the general terms of irrigation and must be there in your mind for all long, since you are all becoming an civil engineer. So whoever are going to be accelerating for such fields of watering, such as hydrology field, environmental field, or an irrigation field, you must have these terms and concepts clear in your mind in order to progress satisfactorily in your field. So let's come to the next term, that is a commanded area. Now, what is this commanded area? The area which can be irrigated by the canal system is known as commanded area. The area which can be irrigated by the canal system. By the canal system, if I can irrigate 2 lakh or 2000 or 200 hectare of the area by the canal system, then it will be called as a commanded area. What does that mean? To those areas to which I can supply the water for irrigation purpose, those area will be called as a commanded area. I hope it is clear to all of you. Suppose in my house, on my land, if I can supply the water from from one end to the another end, then my entire plot area will be called as the commanded area. I hope it is clear to all of you. In your college premises, if I can apply the water from the canal system from one end to the last end, then my entire plot area of the institute will be called as the commanded area, where I can grow any crop desired to me. I hope it is clear to all of you students. Now let's come to the next term, or the subclassified term of a commanded area, that is a gross command area, which is also called as GCA. Gross command area. What is it? The total area which can be irrigated by the canal. The total area which can be irrigated by the canal without considering the limitations of quantity of water. Without considering the limitations of quantity of water means you are not taking care of the amount of water that is available to you. You are simply applying the water to the entire area of your field. That is called as a gross command area. If you are applying the water to the entire field, though it is cultivating the crop or not cultivating the crop, you are not taking that into the consideration, but simply you are applying the water to the entire agricultural field. So this is called as a gross command area. For example, you have your agricultural field and the total plot of which is supposed of 1000 meter square. Okay, so you will not going to cultivate the crop on the entire 1000 meter square area. For the region, you need a parking area as well in it. You need a small cottage in it. You need an area for the cattle. You need an area for digging a well. You need an area for uh, an open garden sort of thing. You need an area for a veranda. So you are not going to cultivate the entire 100 meter square of area. You are going to exclude these areas, and then you are going to uh, choose a certain area for cultivation. Okay. Now, if now you are getting a water from the canal, and you are applying the water to the entire 100-meter square area. You are applying the water to the entire 100-meter square area. So what is happening here? You are not taking care of the cultivable area and the non-cultivable area. You are simply applying the water to the 100-meter square area, considering including its well area, including its veranda area, including its cottage area, including its parking area. Okay, so this is called as a gross command area, where you are applying the water or using the water for uh, the cultivable as well as the non-cultivable area. So this is called as a gross command area, where you are applying the water to the entire agricultural field, including those areas which are non-cultivable. Okay, this is called as a gross command area. Now let's come to the next, that is a culturable command area. Now what is this culturable command area? As the name already tells you, the culturable command area means the amount of water is only applied to the cultivable field. So the equation for which will be, or the expression for which will be, the culturable command area equals to gross command area minus unculturable command area minus unculturable command area. Now there is a subdivision of this culturable command area. There is a subdivision of this culturable command area. Culturable, number one, culturable cultivable command area. Culturable cultivable command area. It is the culturable command area where the cultivation is done at present. See, what happens in your cultivation area or your cultivable command area, you will not going to uh, seed the crop in this entire cultivable area. You are going to divide these areas, these cultivable areas, into three or four parts for growing three or four seeds. So for now, if you are growing only two seeds, so you are going to use only two part of the cultivable command area, right? So if you are applying the water only to these two parts of cultivable command area where you are going to actually cultivate your crops, so it will be called as the cultivable command area. I hope it is clear to all of you. Next is cultivable uncultivated command area. Culturable uncultivated command area. What it says? It is the culturable command area where cultivation is possible, but it is not being cultivated at present. What this means, consider our example only. Culturable uncultivated command area means you are applying to the water, you are applying the water to the rest of the two part of the cultivable area. You are not applying the water to the cultivable area. What you have done, you have divided the cultivable area into four parts, out of which at two parts you are cultivating the crop, and the other two parts you are not cultivating the crop. So if you are applying the water to the other two parts to which you are not cultivating the crop, so it will be called as cultivable uncultivated command area. I hope it is clear to all of you students. Now let's come to the next term, that is unculturable command area. Unculturable command area. What it says, the area where crops cannot be grown and agriculture cannot be done is called as unculturable command area. For example, your parking lot where you cannot cultivate your crops, your cottage where you cannot cultivate your crops, the angan and the cattle field, at those areas you cannot cultivate the crops. So if you are applying the water to those areas, it will be called as unculturable command area. Okay, the areas where crops cannot be grown and agriculture cannot be done. is known as unculturable command area. I hope it is all clear to all of you students, as it has been a very essential and a basic general terms which must be there in your mind, okay, related to irrigation engineering. Let's move to the other certain basic terms that has already been understood by all of you in your past school days. Let's start with it. Very first is a perennial crop. Very first is a perennial crop. What it says, some types of crops require almost a full year for maturity, covering both the season, Kharif season and Rabi season. So those crops which take almost the complete year for its maturity, covering both the seasons, those crops are called as perennial crops. In a simple language, we can say the crop which grows for the entire year is called as a perennial crop, which requires the water for its entire year till the maturity, covering both the seasons, are called as a perennial crop. Okay. Next term, that is a crop period. Crop period. It is the time in days that a crop takes from the instant of its sowing to its harvesting. It's called as a crop period. What is this crop period? The time which will be calculated in days from the time of its from the time of sowing of a crop to the time of harvesting of a crop. जब आपने बीज बोया तब से लेके जब आपने उसकी छटाई किया तब तक के टाइम को आप क्रॉप पीरियड कहते हैं. That will be calculated in days. Hope it is clear to all of you. Let's come to the next term called as a crop season. Let's see what it says. Crop season, the period during which the period during which some particular type of crop can be grown every year on the same land. The period during which particular type of crop can be grown every year on the same field is known as a crop season. Is known as a crop season. For example, if you are cultivating a rice every year in a particular season of 4 months, say for example in 2020, for 4 months, if you have grown rice on a particular field, and then next year at the same duration for 4 months you are again cultivating rice, so that is called as a crop season. That is the season of a rice. Okay. Seasons are Kharif season and Rabi season. Okay. Let's discuss with Kharif season. This season ranges from June to October. From June to October. Also, you can say it as a rainy season, which starts from June and ends at October. So that is called as a Kharif season. The crops are sown in this at the very beginning of monsoon. The crops are sown in the very beginning of a monsoon and harvested at the end of autumn. And harvested at the end of autumn. How many months it covers? Uh, June, July, August, September, October. It covers around 5 months. Okay, from the start of the monsoon till the end of the autumn. Those crops which grown in this season is called as are called as the Kharif crop, and this season is called as the Kharif season. The crops which grown in the seasons are the major crop which grown in the season are rice. Rice grow in this monsoon season as it require a lot of water for its maturity. Maize, jute, groundnuts. Groundnuts also require a ample amount of water for its maturity, for its growing. Okay. Now let's come to the next season. That is a Rabi season. Rabi season ranges from October, from the start of October till March. The crops are sown in the very beginning of winter, that means from October itself, and harvested at the end of a spring. And harvested at the end of spring, that means right before the summer season, it gets harvested. It gets sown in October and gets harvested in March before the summer season. That means at the end of a spring season. Okay. So the major crops that those are grown in this season are wheat, gram, mustard, onion, lean seeds, etc. Okay. Again, there are several crops which are not included in Kharif and Rabi season as they require more time and cover both the seasons. Okay. For example, cotton. Cotton takes both the season for its maturity. Cotton requires almost 8 months to mature, whereas the sugarcane requires the whole year to mature. Okay, cotton requires almost 8 months, whereas the sugarcane requires almost a year for its maturity. So cotton is called as 8 month crop. Cotton is called as an 8 month crop, whereas a sugarcane is called as a perennial crop which require the complete year. Okay. Now let's come to the next term that is called as a cash crop. Cash crop. The crops which are cultivated by the farmers and sell in the market to meet the current financial requirement. I hope it is clear to all of you. The crops which are cultivated by the farmers. The farmers have cultivated certain crops and then they have sell those crops in the market. For what reason? To meet the current financial requirement, to gain the profit from it, to gain the financial profit from it, are called as cash crops. So it is clear to all of you, the crops which are grown and then sell by the farmers only in the market for gaining the financial profits are called as a cash crop. Cash crops includes vegetables. As you can see, the vegetables get uh, sold in the market for gaining the profit. The fruits, all the year it gets sold in the market for gaining the financial profits. They are considered as a cash crop. They are considered as a cash crop. Now let's come to the next term that is called as the crop rotation. Now what is this crop rotation? The process of changing the type of crop for cultivation on the same land is known as crop rotation. What it says? The process of changing the type of crop. The process of changing the type of crop for cultivation on the same land is known as crop rotation. See what is the reason behind it? If you are sowing a groundnut on a particular land now for the first time, so the ground have enough fertility in it. The ground have enough nutrients for fertilizing the crop, and it gets sown and it gets harvested with a plenty of nutrients in it. Now, again, if you will sow the same seed in the particular same land, then you will find that the ground or the soil does not have those nutrients enough to replenish again the crop with the same nutrients in it, because of the reason that the nutrients has already been transferred to the crop that has already been grown on this particular land. Okay, so if you are going to repeat the same action again and again, and if you are going to repeat the same crop sowing again on the same land again and again, then you will find the soil doesn't have those nutrients enough available now for growing the crop and giving the same nutrients again for fertilizing it. Okay, so in this case, you will find after 2 3 two, three repetitions that the crop is not getting grown enough with enough potential of nutrients in it. So in such case, what you will do that you will rotate the crop. You will select the another type of crop on the same field so that those nutrients which has not been used by the previous crop now getting used by this new crop for its fertility, for its maturity. Okay, this is the case of crop rotation. You need to rotate the crop for getting, and also you will find that the remaining nutrients getting used by the new crop, and the nutrients that has been exhausted by the previous crop will start getting generated again into the field. And then after this alteration you can again sow a groundnut crop on that particular field, because in this duration the soil will have the ability to replenish it again with the lost nutrients. Okay, so this is the case of crop rotation. I hope it is clear to all of you students. See what it says. It is found that if same crop is cultivated on the same land every year, the fertility of the land get reduces, and hence the yield of a crop also gradually reduces. You will not find the yielding of the crop, the growing of the crop, the maturity of the crop, the fertility of the crop. So this is because the necessary salt required to grow the particular crop get exhausted. It is found by the experiment that by rotation of the crop on the particular land, the fertility of the land can be restored. The fertility of the land can be restored. So you need to rotate the crop so that the fertility of the crop, the fertility of the soil, the nutrients of the soil get restored again in the soil. And then you can, in the alternate way, again can grow the same crop in the alternate year. Okay, let's come to the next term, that is a crop ratio. The ratio of area irrigated in Rabi season to the area irrigated in Kharif season is called as a crop ratio. Crop ratio is the ratio of, or the crop ratio equals to area irrigated in Rabi upon area irrigated in Kharif. Area irrigated in Rabi upon area irrigated in Kharif. That is called as a crop ratio, which is I don't think much important to all of you, but just keep it in mind. Let's come to the next thing, that is unit conversion. Cubic day. Cubic day. What we are going to do here is we are just going to do a unit conversion from cubic day to hectare meter. Cubic day to hectare meter. How we are going to do this? Let's see. Quantity of water flowing continuously for one day at the rate of 1 cubic is known as cubic day. So what it says, the quantity of water flowing continuously for one day at the rate of 1 cubic is known as cubic day. That means I am supplying the water to the agricultural field at what rate? At a rate of 1 cubic to the entire day. To the entire day. Then the water supplied will be 1 cubic day. 1 cubic day or cubic day. Okay. So I'm just converting this to hectare meter, since this is the not unit adaptable for our numerical purpose. The unit that is adaptable for us is hectare meter. Okay, so we are just converting this cubic day into hectare meter, so that if you will find any numerical with this unit, you will be able to convert it into hectare meter. Okay, so let's start with it. 1 cubic day. That means 1 cubic is meter cube per second. That is a unit of a discharge. Okay, in a day, that is multiplied by day. Okay, now I'm converting this day into seconds. I'm converting this days into second. How will I do this? One day carries 24 hours. 24 hours carries 60 minutes each, and 1 minute carries 60 seconds each. Okay. So it will be 24 multiplied by 60 multiplied by 60. Here you can see that seconds are getting cancelled, and the unit now available is meter cube. Okay, so the amount or the constant that we are having are 24 into 60 into 60 multiplied by meter cube. Meter cube can be split in the form of meter square multiplied by meter. Okay, now meter square can be is the unit of a unit of an area, and hectare is also a unit of an area. Okay, you can convert this meter square into hectare. So what is the conversion between this hectare and meter square? 1 hectare equals to 10 to the power 4 meter square. 1 hectare equals to 10 to the power 4 meter square. So 1 meter square will be 1 upon 10 to the power 4 hectare. That is what we are doing. This 1 meter square, we are converting it into hectare. So it will be 1 upon 10 to the power 4. Okay. So that makes the total or the final constant as 8.64, and the unit will be hectare meter. So 1 cubic becomes 8.64 hectare meter. 1 cubic becomes 8.64 hectare meter. I hope it is clear to all of you students. This is the unit conversion. So that's it for today. We can resume further uh, detail related to this in the next lecture. So thank you very much.